The appraiser will compare to similar recent sales to determine fair market value. And the lender will only fund a loan up to the fair market value of the home. If this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything about buying and selling homes, click subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know about the latest tips for buying and selling. Hi, my name is Kitty Cheney, owner of Chandelier Property Group with eXp Realty, where we provide brilliant solutions. One way we do this is by helping you understand the process of buying and selling a home, the potential challenges, and the common roller coaster of emotions along the way. Challenges and stresses are reduced and often eliminated when one knows what to expect in advance. We call this sharing the light of knowledge. We've worked with so many people just like you, looking for help to buy or sell a home, and we love to serve. Whether moving in 9 days or 90 days, if you want to feel heard, informed, and comfortable, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. All of our info is in the description below, so we can help you make a smooth move. With step 6 of selling your home, we're ready for the appraisal. This step also includes a deadline, the financing and appraisal deadline. This deadline is typically 15 to 21 days after acceptance. The earnest money, the buyer's earnest money, is fully refundable for financing or appraisal reasons if the buyer cancels prior to this deadline. Reasons that they might cancel due to financing would be maybe they lost their job and they can't get a loan, and so they need to cancel the purchase. Maybe the appraisal came in low and the buyer and seller can't agree on a new price, and that appraisal won't allow the buyer to get a loan for more than the appraised value. So we need to get that renegotiated, and maybe we're not coming to terms, and so the buyer needs to cancel the purchase. And for either of those reasons, anything having to do with financing or appraisal, the buyer can cancel prior to that deadline and get their earnest money back. But those are the only reasons. Keep in mind during that due diligence deadline, they could cancel for any reason. After that due diligence deadline, and yet still within the financing and appraisal deadline, they can only cancel for financing or appraisal reasons if they want to get their earnest money back. Outside of that deadline or after that deadline, if they cancel, then the earnest money goes to you, the seller, as a thank you for keeping the home off the market during this time. That is why it can be very beneficial when we are negotiating that original offer and reviewing that original offer. It can be very beneficial to have higher earnest money because it locks the buyer in. Once they are past these deadlines, it is hard for them to cancel. They can't cancel without losing their earnest money. If they do, then the earnest money goes to you as a thank you for pulling it off the market for this time. So the appraisal is an impartial, third-party, educated opinion of value. And appraisers are trained in how to do appraisals. This is more in-depth than the CMA, the comparative market analysis, that realtors like I would do for you. And an appraisal is far more in-depth, and specific training on how to do appraisal is required for an appraiser to be licensed in that arena. And so they will complete that impartial, third-party, educated opinion of value for the lender. The lender is the one who orders the appraisal. The appraiser will schedule access to the home just like with a showing. You'll receive a text request for that appraisal time, and you can accept or reject the time. Again, I recommend that you accept it if at all possible. There are 3 types of appraisals. There's your normal everyday appraisal that just checks value. That's all they're doing. They'll quickly move through the home, come for a quick tour just to confirm that condition is good, is above standard, and then they're good. Or below standard. They're just checking on the condition because the appraised value will be less if it has condition issues. But an FHA appraisal checks value and has that livability criteria. So for an FHA appraisal, they will not only be comparing to other properties for the value, but they will be going through their checklist of FHA criteria to confirm that the home matches that criteria, matches or exceeds it. And so that criteria includes things like appliances and electrical needs to be functional. The roof, walls, and flooring need to be in good condition. All rooms need to have a fire escape. Tiny basement windows on older homes that you can't crawl out of do not work. All handrails, all stairs need to have handrails if they're over a certain number of steps. There needs to be no peeling paint. This is a very common condition issue on FHA appraisals, especially on older homes, is that there is peeling paint. That paint would need to be sanded down and repainted. As a story, I have some sellers who had an older, small home that had a few little steps coming down out of the side door, a few steps coming down, and the FHA did require a stair railing. I think they had about 4 steps coming down, and there was not a railing on those steps. FHA required that a railing be put on those steps and that the detached garage with its peeling paint be sanded and repainted. And so we were able to get that taken care of fairly quickly. We got a handyman out there that was able to take care of both of those quickly and efficiently, and we got it done prior to closing, and the buyers were able to close on that home, and the sellers were able to move on to their new home. So FHA issues do arise, but there's typically a solution for them, and we can move on and get the home closed. You just need to be aware that those are the condition issues that may come up. VA, the third type of appraisal is a VA appraisal. VA will check value and even tighter livability criteria than FHA. They want to ensure good housing for our veterans, and I think that's a very important thing for us. As a story with a VA appraisal, I had just a fantastic home in a beautiful neighborhood. It met all the criteria that the buyers wanted in this case, but the one condition that did come up was the septic system. The home was on septic, which was fine. There's no problems with septic for a VA home or FHA, except that sewer had been run to this community afterwards. And VA really tries to ensure the best for our soldiers. And sewer systems are considered a higher standard than septic systems. And therefore, VA was asking that be replaced. In this particular case, the soldier, the veteran, my client, did not care if it was on septic or sewer, and the sellers were going to be unable to accept that large cost of transitioning over to sewer, and therefore we negotiated with the sellers and with VA and got the VA to remove that requirement. So I want you to know that as a seller, just because VA requires something does not mean it is an absolute requirement. There is a little bit of flexibility, not a lot, but a little bit of flexibility on occasion with some of that criteria. And so we would just have to simply look at what it is that they're requiring and see if we can negotiate with VA to remove that criteria for that particular soldier if it is not important to them. Anyway, so our 3 types of appraisal: the normal appraisal, the FHA appraisal, and the VA appraisal, each gradually getting a little tighter on their criteria. The appraiser will compare to similar recent sales to determine fair market value, and the lender will only fund a loan up to the fair market value of the home. So, for example, if the buyer is getting a 100% loan, there's not many of them out there, but they do exist. If they're getting 100% loan and we've agreed to a $400,000 purchase price and the fair market value is $400,000, then there is a $400,000 loan. However, if the appraisal comes in high, this can be a concern of sellers. If the appraisal comes in high at $410,000, this can be a concern of buyers. If the appraisal comes in high at $410,000, the purchase price still stays because that is the contract. The appraisal does not change the contract. The purchase price would still be $400,000 and there would be a $400,000 loan, even if the appraisal comes in at $410,000. Doesn't change anything with the contract. And that is good news for you as a seller. If the appraisal comes in low, let's say it comes in at $390,000 for fair market value, then the lender will only give a $390,000 loan. That does not change the purchase price, though. Our contract is still at $400,000. The buyer needs to come up with the difference, or we need to negotiate for the difference. If the buyer can come up with that extra $10,000, problem solved, on we go. If the buyer cannot come up with the extra $10,000 or simply does not want to, then they will negotiate with you as a seller for a price reduction. And maybe we drop it by $10,000. Maybe we meet in the middle and drop it by $5,000 and the buyer comes up with $5,000. Either way, that difference must be addressed because the lender will only do a loan for $390,000 if the purchase price is at $390,000, or if the appraisal comes in at $390,000. And so we are watching for that low appraisal. High appraisals are great. Right on the mark appraisals are great. Low appraisals do require some negotiation in order to address the difference so that the buyer can get the loan and purchase the home. The buyer pays for that appraisal, so the buyer receives the report. We will only see that report if the buyer is negotiating for a lower purchase price. For FHA VA, it will also note any required repairs. And so we'll be negotiating to get those repairs completed and addressed prior to closing so that the buyers can get their FHA or VA loan. And an option, if the repairs are not required for the loan, we may negotiate for money in lieu, but in most cases those repairs are required in order for the loan to close, and therefore money in lieu of repairs will not work. In most cases, if there are repairs listed on the appraisal that are required, then those repairs do need to be completed prior to closing. And so an alternative, if it is not something we were expecting, is we may negotiate for a higher price in order to cover those repairs. These are all things that we can address by situation, depending on the market, depending on how many buyers we have lined up for the property. But what you need to know is that the appraisal does not change the contract price, but it may affect the buyer's ability to close, and therefore we may need to negotiate that contract price because of the appraisal. But just the appraisal on its own does not change the contract price. It is normal to feel anxious during this time as we wait on the results of the appraisal and any needed negotiation. A little bit of uncertainty as we're wondering how all of this is going to turn out. Once we are done with the financing and appraisal deadline, though, and the buyer has chosen to move forward, then we are ready for step 7, moving out. I'll see you on the next video. If you appreciated the knowledge shared in this video, click follow and subscribe for more videos on buying and selling homes. If you're looking to buy or sell a home and want to feel heard, informed, and comfortable along the way, comment below, or even better, call me. I look forward to being the brilliant solution you can't wait to share.